We may well be saying goodbye to a lot of the players we've grown accustomed to over the last couple of seasons today. It's our last 2 games of the season. It's been a season to forget. The upward trajectory starts next episode. Today's probably losing both, I guess. Hello and welcome to part 45 of Backing the Boro. I'm Kev. Coming up on today's episode, we're away against Notts County. That's like promotion challenge in Notts County, so we'll lose that one. And then we're away against at home against Halifax. I don't even know where Halifax are. Can't even see them. Are they getting relegated? Wow, Halifax are going to get relegated. We might win that one. That would be a bit special. Since you were last with me, 3 games without a win. In fact, just one win in 6, which is, I mean, these are players who are playing for their squad spot next year. They just don't care. I don't think the 4-3-3 is working, but at the same time, I have not much in the way of ideas about what we're going to do next year at this stage. I think we need to clear out the squad as much as possible. Committed spending's £19,000 a week, plus there's the other £6,000 from Scott and Adebayo, the 2 players who are on £3,000 a week. We could potentially halve our wage budget and then see how much we get, and then bring in some players to fit into a new system, or maybe a returning old system. You've all met me, you know what I'm thinking. But this is the team we're putting out there today. We've got Guthrie in goal because Can is still injured. He might be fit again for the next game. Oh, actually, although it's a light orangey colour, 3 to 7 weeks. We ain't seeing him again today. But we've got Guthrie in goal. A back 4 of Anderson, Laskowski, who this might be the last time you see Laskowski. He's wanted by Gillingham. We'll probably have to cash in. It will be a shame, but we need the money. Stone and Moore make up the rest of the back 4. Kaduba then behind Hurd and Ball in midfield. With Boro, who again, probably going to be the last time you see Boro. It will definitely be the last time you see Hurd and Ball. They're both out of contract at their parent clubs. We won't be able to afford to keep them permanently. Borrell's wanted by all these league clubs, so he's definitely going to be going in the summer, I would suggest. Again, on the basis that we probably won't be able to afford to keep him, and there's a good chance he won't fit into the system next year. You all know what I'm thinking. Omar might well still be here. Scott will hopefully leave, although that being said, no one's interested in him because he's on £3,000 a week and he's only just hit double figures for the season. He's not been the same player this year as he has been the 2 years previously. So we might have to build a team around Sedwin Scott. And you never know, if we return to having a player alongside him, he might turn back into some kind of half-decent form. Let's get into the game. Let's see how we get on. I am expecting defeat against Notts County, so I'm not going to be downhearted about it. If we lose, we lose. We were supposed to lose this one. We're treading water. We're biding our time. We're giving a few of these players one final opportunity to show me that there's a reason to keep him around next year. Sedwin Scott, I'm looking at you. If you can get me a couple of hat-tricks, I might keep you. 16 goals over the course of the season, although still not up to your normal standard, would be better than 10. An awful lot better than 10. And we know he's got back-to-back hat-tricks in him. He's done it before. But, I don't know, £3,000 a week, regardless of what he does today in the next game, he probably needs to move on. Omar's another one who we're probably spending a lot of money on at this level. And he's a luxury we probably don't need. Although, playing as a centre-forward again, if we go back to a system with 2 up front, it's probably going to suit him, but he plays in the same position as Mason then. I think I wouldn't be heartbroken if we ended up with Scott and Mason as a front 2 next year, which is us moving back in time about a season and a half to the last time we tried that and it worked. So perhaps that's not the solution. Oh, this is so hard. Whoever said it would be a good idea to take one club from the lowest player league all the way up to the Premier League, Champions League nonsense? It is still the plan. I promise you it's still the plan. I just don't know if I'm up to it. At least we can say now, let the history books show that I spent half a season trying to do a 4-3-3. I've spent the 2 or 3 years previously trying to do a 4-4-2. I've tried 5-3-2. When I show you a 4-3-1-2 in the next episode and say, look what I've come up with, it's revolutionary. Cut me a little bit of slack. 6 seasons. 6 seasons of trying to make anything other than the 4-3-1-2 work. And there's no guarantees it'll work, because we did try it for half a dozen games earlier this season and it just didn't work at all. But it's partly because I was trying to cram the wrong players into it. We didn't really have a proper attacking midfield player. Jordan Nicholson might be available. We were trying to play Boro in midfield because we didn't want to drop him because he's our hot prospect. We wanted to keep him involved in the matches. So it was kind of a half-hearted attempt at a 4-3-1-2. But I think if we can get decent money for Boro and not get so hammered by our new wage budget that we can't bring new players in, because it will rely on us being able to bring in a couple of good quality attacking midfield players, which hopefully we'll be able to do with reinvesting any money we get for Boro and Laskowski. And then just commit to it for a year, get rid of any wide players we've got, try and get rid of as many of the overpaid players as we've got. We definitely need a new keeper. Although I suppose that's a little harsh on Can. It's just going to be Laskowski who's exploded his knee. No, head injury. Okay, that's all right then. I thought that was Laskowski's way of making sure he could stay at the club, because he'd be too injured to be sold. But we kind of need to cash in on him. Right, Kaduba's going to have to play at centre-back with Cowans going into midfield. I mean, I really love the fact that we're just losing all our players to injury right at the end of the season as well. I mean, it's just a bit of a bonus for us. Let's get Mason on, because Sedwin Scott may as well have not been here. Mason can come on, try playing as an advanced forward, which I might remind you he did in this system earlier in the season and scored like 12 goals in 4 games. But since Scott's been fit again, even though I didn't immediately replace him, Mason just hasn't been any good. It baffles me. It baffles me how their form can be so erratic. Dynamics and all that stuff is still fine. It's not that I've upset the whole squad, I don't think. But they're just mostly not very good. And that's something we need to fix over the summer. When we're looking back on this in 6 months' time, we'll all just pretend this season never happened. This was a season about learning and growth and watching the club slowly go out of business. Next year is going to be the promotion year. Or the year we actually go out of business. It'll be one of the two. There you go. We lost to Notts County. We were supposed to lose to Notts County. Hopefully, in our final home game of the season, we can finish things off with a win. I might even crack out the 4-3-1-2, even though we don't really have the players to play in it, just so we can have a little look at it. And of course, purely because I wanted to have a look at the potential new system for last year, Sedwin Scott picked up another injury right at the end of the season. He's going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks. At least he'll get a pre-season this year. And I do wonder if that's just been the problem with him all year. The fact he didn't have any kind of pre-season. I don't know if the game is that detailed. I know it can easily ruin a season in real life. Maybe that's what's done it. But we're not going to get to see him. So we'll just play these 3 up front. So it's a completely different team, really. We've got Guthrie in goal still. The back 4 is different because Laskowski's got a concussion. So Kaduba drops back from being the defensive midfielder to play alongside Stone like he did in the match, with Anderson and Moore either side of those two. Then we've got Hurd, Borrell and Elliott in midfield. The other midfield loanee, James Ball, he also picked up an injury. He's going to be out for a couple of months, so he can't be part of this midfield. So Borrell at least gets to stay part of it. Tom Elliott is about 5 appearances away from being Nuneaton's all-time record appearance maker. He is out of contract at the end of the season. Fairly confident I'm not going to be letting him leave. He's a bit of a hero for us. He's got to stick around, at least to become the all-time record appearance holder. So we'll probably give him 1 more year. And then we're going to play Phyllis Kirk in behind Omar and Mason. And we're going back to an old faithful, the defensive forward alongside a poacher. Haven't done that for about 3 or 4 seasons. So let's see if that still works. Let's get into the game. And, I mean, Halifax are already relegated, I think. Halifax are already relegated. We should, in theory, be able to just steamroller over them. And it would be nice to finish as high as 4th. I mean, we can move up 1 place. We could go above Tranmere. But realistically, we probably... I don't know. I just want a performance. I want us to score some goals. We've set a new club record this year for draws in a season. And draws are so boring. I'd rather be losing games and draw... Not quite, but... Just... I think we've drawn 16 league games this season now. Which is... I mean, that's a third... More than a third of our season has been ball draws, and now Kaduba is showing that he's not a centre-back by giving away a penalty. He needs to watch his back. When we were playing systems that didn't have a defensive midfielder when he was at the club before, that's when he spent 2 years here never getting a game. He's been ever present since he arrived as a defensive midfield player. He probably ain't ever going to play again after today. He was only in until the end of the season. I think if we're committing to a 4-3-1-2, we'll probably just let him leave again. We've let him come back for 6 months of rehabilitation and get a run of games for the first time in his career. But he's not very good, really. He's just the best defensive midfielder we could get at the time. I'm aware we've conceded a goal. I'm just beyond caring about it at this point. We're just pathetic. I want to bin off the whole squad. Guthrie, I don't even know what he was trying there. He's just sort of palmed that into the path of their oncoming striker. It could have gone any other direction and we'd have been completely fine. And I don't understand how it naturally deflects at the angle that it did. It's like he deliberately punched it into their path, which he might well have done. I mean, he just learned to catch the ball. You're a goalkeeper. That came straight at you, straight at your hands. Body behind the hands, just catch the ball. You can risk having a go at catching it because your body's behind you. Worst comes to the worst and you miss it entirely with your hands. It's going to bounce off you for a corner like it did anyway. Show of hands, do we think we're going to score a goal today? I remember when we used to be a free-flowing attacking team that used to score goals. Remember that? It was a long time ago, I'll grant you. But this is silly. We shouldn't be losing to Halifax. If this form continues, we'll get relegated next year. If the club manages to stay in business that long. Elliott to Hurd. Out to Moore. He's facing the wrong way. Hurd finds Boro. Might be his last appearance. Boro finds Elliott, who hits the post on... I mean, it could be his last appearance. I hope it's not. But we haven't even opened contract negotiations with him yet. I guess, he's not very good. But are we going to find better? It really depends on what kind of budget we're offered. Elliott now crosses to Omar, who scores. He wants to stick around next year. I think he's another one who's out of contract. But he does grab an equaliser for us, and it's the first time I've seen us score a goal for quite a long while. And it's quite a pleasant experience. I like the little rush you get when you score a goal. I can see why this is a spectator sport. Right, 1-1 going into half-time. Please, can we come out for this second half and end the season in a manner that makes some of the people who are at this match think, you know what, I might buy a season ticket for next year on the way home. Because if we don't sell a lot of them, I don't think we're going to make it through the summer. During the season, when we've got match day income coming in all the time, we've managed to lose over £1 million this season. Over the summer, we're going to be ruined without any income coming in. We've just gone 2-1 up thanks to Hurd. It will be his last appearance for the club. He's going to be going back to whence he came. We won't be able to afford to sign him permanently. And I don't know. I know we need loans at this level, but it is frustrating having this constant rotation of loan players coming in and out. I like it when you can keep them in for a few years and they effectively become your player. Having him in for just a year, yeah. Elliott nods it down to Kaduba. And it goes out for a corner. It'd be nice to see Kaduba grab a goal. He was very good for me at Bath in non-league to legend. And I guess he did help us stop the slide this year. It's only a couple of episodes ago I was describing him as the man who saved our season. And I guess we haven't been relegated. So maybe it was saved. I don't know that if it was entirely down to him. Right. Let's make some substitutions. We don't have any strikers. Right, Hurd can play in behind the front two, so Phyllis Kirk can go up front. Kadziro making his final appearance for the club as well. He'll be going back to his parent club. Swap those two over. We'll swap those two over. We're going to make him an advanced forward, and Phyllis Kirk can be deep line forward on support. Magic, that works. What else can we do? Left back. Abrazazi can come on, and we'll also bring on the loanee Ocean Roberts, who has been on loan all year. I think this might be his debut, just as he's about to go back to, I want to say, Cardiff. That's a decent save from Guthrie. He must have taken my detailed goalkeeper coaching on board that we gave him earlier on in the first half. We are actually mugging Halifax today. I've just had a look up at the stats. They had their 3 clear-cut chances and 2 half chances. We've just had the 2 clear-cut chances. And for once, we've actually been quite clinical with them and scored them both. Although I don't think Hurd's was a clear-cut chance, so I guess we scored one, missed one, and Hurd just got a goal out of nowhere, which seems about right. He'll end up being a proper Football League player, unlike pretty much everyone else on this pitch, I would suggest. Boro maybe as the exception. He'll probably make it in the league as well. Right, Hurd just falls over. Omar to Kadzidlo. Omar again, crosses, Phyllis Kirk, 3-1. I wonder how differently the season might have gone if we'd have played this system the whole way through. I realise probably not very different. Halifax are already relegated. Let's not read too much into it. Other than the fact that after what has been a miserable season, at least we're ending it with a positive by picking up a comfortable win on the last day. We're saying goodbye to some players who've served us well, and the rebuild starts at 5 o'clock. We just need to come up with a plan. Talking of times of the day, by the way, as well, there was a little bit of confusion last weekend about when our weekend episodes, the Backing the Boro episodes, come out, because traditionally they've been in a 4 o'clock slot that Non-League to Legend occupies Monday to Friday. I've moved it so that every time a Backing the Boro episode comes out, it's always at 7 p.m. So you get them at 7 p.m. on Tuesday and Wednesday, like this one. But also at the weekends, they're going to be 7 p.m. as well. Couple of reasons. Firstly, it's just easier to remember that Backing the Boro is always at 7 p.m, hopefully. But also, releasing at 4 p.m. on a Saturday and a Sunday, I'm always up against real football, whether people are at actual matches or watching Soccer Saturday or watching whatever games on Sky on the Sunday afternoon. Whereas bringing them out at 7 o'clock means, in theory, I'm not up against real football. So it just seemed like it made more sense as a time slot. 2 very good reasons to release at that time. And a 4-1 win to celebrate the end of the season with. The last thing I want to see before I let you go is I want to see what wage budget we're going to get. Remember, we've got £29,000 a week at the moment. And I want to see what they're going to give me. Oh, Tom Elliott had a good game, bless him. I want to see what they give me for next year. I'm working on the assumption at the moment that they're going to absolutely slash my wage budget. But then I've assumed that most seasons in this save so far, and they've never done it yet. They've always increased it a little bit each season. But looking at the state of the finances, they can't increase again, surely. I reckon something around 20 grand is sensible. They've increased it slightly. This board is going to run this club out of town. They're going to be out of business. I want you all to remember that. It's not me who's doing this. It's them. It's them. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Can't speak. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.